And Newsweek says Alzheimer's disease could one day be diagnosed with an eye test after new research showed changes in the blood vessels in the eye. An estimated 6 million Americans live with Alzheimer's disease, but one survey shows that more than 50% of couples dealing with the condition have not discussed their wishes related to having another relationship. This was highlighted when the husband of lifestyle expert B. Smith revealed he was in a second relationship while he cared for her. It was a set of circumstances that our Barry Peterson is very familiar with, and you're now sharing with us. Barry, good morning.
Good morning to all of you. My relationship with Alzheimer's is personal. 14 years ago, my late wife Jan was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. During part of that time, I also had another woman in my life. We called ourselves a family of three. The parallels to B. Smith, her husband Dan Gaspy, and his girlfriend are uncanny. But it's an all too familiar tale for couples dealing with Alzheimer's, one where love can be complex and unconventional.
What's your dad's name?
My dad, Barbara Smith. B. Smith, Barbara Smith.
B. Smith, lifestyle guru and restaurateur, developed early onset Alzheimer's 6 years ago.
I can still make you laugh, right?
Today, husband Dan Gaspy is caring for his wife of 27 years.
When B and I realized what we're dealing with and she understood what the situation is, she said to me, I know what I have, I know where it's going to take me. Tell the story. Tell the truth.
In January, he spoke that truth and let cameras into his home, a home he shares with his wife and his girlfriend, Alex Lerner, who also has a bedroom in the house and helps with B's care. If you wanted to have a relationship, Alex, you could have chosen a lot easier paths.
That's true.
Why this one?
I met Dan when he was pretty much at his lowest. I remember going through a time in my life where I felt that way, where I was pretty much at my lowest. And I saw the pain in his eyes. I did. And I reached out and thought maybe this man just needs somebody to talk to, you know? Or as humans, sometimes we just need a hug.
It was natural, it was organic, it was not intentional, but we fell into each other.
Does she still know who you are?
She will call me Dad. She will call me her brother Gary or her brother Ron. Then she'll say, Dan, out of nowhere. And then I say, who? Dan, he's over there. There may be something in her mind that says that, but then it's gone. It's like trying to drink water from a colander. No matter how much you bring it to you, there's nothing there.
Something I experienced with my wife, Jan. After almost 25 years together, she was in assisted living and no longer remembered my name. What's his name?
Mr. Happy.
That's when I met Mary Nell Wolfe, who became Jan's friend.
It broke my heart that a man who could love this woman so much couldn't remember, she could not remember who he was.
A year and a half after Jan passed away, Mary Nell and I got married. The hardest thing for me is people who don't know but decide that they can judge what I'm doing.
Please. I mean, we've got the 800-pound gorilla in the room. She's white and I'm black.
So many people jump to conclusions and judgment that don't even understand what Alzheimer's is and what it does to a person, to the patient, the Alzheimer's patient, as well as the caregivers.
I so respect what you're saying and respect you guys and what you're going through, because it's a definition of love, and nobody understands what a caregiver goes through. I write for a couple hours every day. It restarts the brain.
Greg OBrien has Alzheimer's, a lifetime journalist. He's written a book about what he calls embedded in Alzheimer's. He and Mary Catherine raised 3 kids over their 42-year marriage. She's gone from wife to caregiver.
Do you know what date it is?
Not sure.
People think that caregiving is a daytime event.
Oh yeah.
It's an all-night event. And how do you sleep? How do you recharge? How do you rest?
I say one eye open and one ear open.
Yep.
I live in a nightmare and a daymare. Everything I have to do is to mitigate her everyday irrationality, because she doesn't have that ability maintain her dignity and try to keep my sanity.
This disease robs everything. It robs your brain slowly, like a sliver every day. My brain is like an iPhone now. It's still a sophisticated device, but it has a short-term battery. It pocket dials, and it gets lost very easily.
Oh.
I try to say to people who have been critical of our relationship, you are one diagnosis away from knowing what your life will be.
In our situation, even though Greg is still here functioning, we were the house that had the Super Bowl parties and the Patriots and the Red Sox, and we were the house that everybody came to.
The party house.
I mean, we just did 30 or 40 people in summertime deck parties. He can't do that anymore. And
Right.
so our social life has really narrowed down to our very, very close
And people run
friends.
away from you.
Yeah, and
you have
it's not comfortable sometimes to be around them.
What do you want for Mary Catherine in the future?
I want her to be happy. I want her to marry a better person than me. And I want her to be at peace. I just don't want her to marry someone who's handsome, that's it.
What you said, Greg, is what my wife said to me. I want you to go on, because if you truly love someone, you don't own them. And what you said is the true, to me, expression of love.
So Greg asked if we would, now that we know you, if we would watch out for you. And the answer is yes.
Yes, definitely.
Resoundingly yes.
Oh, it's so meaningful.
So the question for everybody at this table is, have you had the talk? Because you need to do it when you're young enough to discuss this, because by the time the person you love is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it's already too late.
It's such a very powerful story, Barry, that you're sharing, and I think it's so important for people to consider it. You know, a lot of people judge, as Greg said, they judge and they don't know. I know Dan, and I've met Alex, and she's really lovely and very dedicated to helping Barbara get through all of this. So I'm so glad that you told their story. What was your take on them as a couple, the way that Dan really has devoted himself to Barbara in a very, very huge way?
Well, I think that let's give credit to Alex, because she came into this relationship.
Yeah.
She's now a co-caregiver. You know, he said he did it because he vowed that he would tell the truth. But there's one other thing that's important. The fact that he's willing to talk about it in this way means a lot of other people who are in this situation say, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
How important
you
are
too,
the
Mary,
bonds?
by the way.
Sorry?
You too.
You too.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that piece.
Yeah.
And he's taking care of Barbara when when the disease has really progressed. Isn't that unusual too?
Way past when I would have been capable of taking care of Jan. I'd already made the decision to put Jan into assisted living. But it's 24 hours. I cannot stress how much this is. You never really sleep.
Yeah.
And I just have such admiration for his doing this, but I don't want him to do it to the point where he gets sick.
How important and helpful are these bonds? Because it seemed like it really was even just watching this piece between the couples.
Well, I think between Dan and Alex, and obviously between myself and Mary Nell, I think these are life-saving relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they keep you from falling under and dying. So I've talked about this for a very long time, and I say to people, listen, you can't help the person who has the disease because we don't have a cure. So help the person who's the caregiver, because they're the ones who are struggling to survive.
And what I learned, don't judge when you're not in that situation.
Yes.
I think that's a very important message to send.
We made a presentation one time to a group, among them many professional caregivers, and one came up afterward and said, you know, it never occurred to me. I only do this for 8 hours and I get to go home.
Yeah.
Wow. Barry, thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you.